Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
Folks, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
It's barely clear on the backside of the sun, and the earth is hitting the earth is located around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth now. The solar wind is also
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from our broadcast center at the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here. As we've been doing, we're going to start off this evening with the singing of the national anthem, and just prior to that, the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
folks. Let them know it. America's finest right there.
America's finest right there. The United States Army Barbershop Quartet, coming to us from the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. The announcers for the host for the Barbershop Convention gave us a national anthem, and we appreciate it. We just came off of the Memorial Day celebration here in the United States. There are some things we want to talk to you tonight about that as well. But we want to thank all of our armed forces. It doesn't matter whether they are Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, whether they're Space Force or Coast Guard. It doesn't matter. We want to thank them for their service and wish them well. And we hope that they may return home to their loved ones after their tours of duty end. The same goes for our allies in their armed forces that help the United States protect them and the world. God bless all of you. May you all return home safely to your families when your tours of duty end. God bless you all. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Folks, we've had something terrible happen. I hate even talking about it. It's that bad. Oh gosh. Let me just bring it out. Okay? A group of Marines were up in the Los Angeles area near Santa Monica, California. They were in Santa Monica, California, near the Santa Monica Pier, facing the Pacific Ocean. And they were playing together, having a grand old time, until some rowdy dirtbags came along and ruined their day. I want to play this video for you because it will say everything that I ever would want to say about what's happened here. This is incredible. I never thought this would happen in our history. It's unheard of. It's literally unheard of.
My face still had like blood all over it. It wasn't cool at all.
3 local Marines are recovering from an attack by a large group of teens in San Clemente. It happened Friday night near the pier. Disturbing video shows 2 of the Marines taking cover on the ground as they're being repeatedly kicked in the head and upper body. The Orange County Sheriff's Department is working to track down the culprits.
This is considered an assault with a deadly weapon because of the amount of suspects that we are investigating. The weapons that were used were their feet while these victims were on the ground. So regardless if the victims choose prosecution or choose medical attention, the Sheriff's Department is going to investigate this to the fullest and try to determine who the suspects are.
One of the Marines says he and 2 buddies were enjoying time off from Camp Pendleton at one of their favorite spots near the San Clemente Pier when 30 to 40 kids showed up on the beach. This is video from a resident who says he called deputies multiple times about the unruly crowd. According to the injured Marine, the teenagers lit off fireworks, and when debris hit him in the face, he politely asked them to leave.
And they were lighting off fireworks, they were being belligerent, they were being obnoxious and annoying other people, so we went up to them, told them to stop.
And that's when he says the crowd followed them over to the pier and things turned violent. The Lance Corporal thinks he may have a concussion from being beat up and stomped on.
There are 2 city cameras here on the side of Fisherman's Restaurant that may have captured what went on here Friday night. The mayor tells me that the city's IT staff is working right now to get those images to Sheriff's Department investigators.
I made a comment during our speech here at the community center where I said, look, this is San Clemente. Marines are always welcome here, always going to be celebrated, always taken care of, and that's why this is so particularly tragic.
We told them that we were Marines, so they would leave, but they didn't. They just kept going at it.
In San Clemente, Michelle Geely, KCAL News.
That was a broadcast from KCAL in Los Angeles. Folks, this is bad. 3 Marines trying to relax on the beach after they got time off from the Marine Corps. And yet they're treated like scoundrels by these group of hoodlums, teenagers, thinking that they can just take over a beach and pick on whoever asks them to stop or whoever gets in their way. I'm hoping that our police department, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and also the local police in San Clemente can get hold of these youngsters and teach them a thing or three. This is a terrible thing to have happen on the U.S. Memorial Day, where we honor departed soldiers from our armed forces, and yet these hoodlums act like this. It's unheard of. Just unheard of. And I hope and pray that they get what's coming to them. I really do. Now, I hate talking like that. I really hate it. But quite honestly, something has got to be done to teach our young people respect. When I was a cop, these kinds of things happened. And we tried taking care of them. And later we got apologies from the people that were instigators. It just has to stop. It really just has to stop. I want to show you what happens when groups of teenagers get together to cause all sorts of hate and discontent. Something else that I want to talk about tonight. Wildfires over in Halifax and Nova Scotia area in Canada, eastern Canada. For the last while now, we've been talking about these fires. The raging fires are continuing in that area, burning through thousands of hectares, thousands of acres of land in Canada. More than 16,000 Canadians have had to evacuate their homes, and it's triggered a burn ban in Nova Scotia, as the region experiences record-breaking heat as well. Officials say the fires, which span a total of more than 25,000 acres, 25,000 hectares, and have deemed out of control by officials, has destroyed multiple buildings, and it's caused huge plumes of smoke to tower over the region. As of yesterday, more than 16,000 people were forced to evacuate the area around Halifax, Nova Scotia's largest city. The number of people who have been forced from their homes is about 16,429. Erica Fleck, who's the Division of Chief of Emergency Management in Halifax, said that they are not even getting it close to being under control. Authorities have also said 400 people have been evacuated from Shelburne County, southwest Nova Scotia. The blazes have damaged at least 200 homes or structures. The Halifax municipality said in a Facebook post today, citing first responders and their initial visual inspections of that area. The Premier of Nova Scotia, Tim Houston, said, "Our hearts go out to everyone impacted by these fires. We know you are experiencing uncertainty and distress. We see that, and we want to try to ease a small portion of the financial stress. Every household required to evacuate will receive $500 administered through the Canadian Red Cross." That's according to a Monday news release. The funds are intended to help with what Houston called urgent needs such as food and personal care items. Officials in Nova Scotia also announced a province-wide burn ban yesterday due to the seriousness of the current fires. The ban will remain in place until at least June 25th, unless the province determines it can be lifted sooner. Officials said anyone who contraindicates the ban will be subject to prosecution under the Forest Act. Trudeau has also gotten involved. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau called the wildfires incredibly serious in a tweet yesterday. Quote, "We can stand ready to provide any federal support and the assistance needed. We're keeping everybody affected in our thoughts, and we're thanking those that are working so hard to keep people safe. A wildfire burning in Nova Scotia's Westwood Hills and Tantalian areas is out of control. The blaze currently spans about 1,947 acres. More than 200 crews from agencies across the province have been sent to help battle the fires. Officials say there are 35 fire trucks, 2 helicopters, and a water bomber being used as officials caution wind gusts were up to 40 miles per hour and causing the wildfire to spread rapidly. Another fire, which is burning in the Barrington Lake area and Shelburne County areas in southwestern Nova Scotia, continue to spread rapidly today. The blaze, which officials say is out of control, scorched nearly 24,000 acres/hectares. A hectare is about the size of an acre in the United States. That was as of Monday evening. Officials in the release noted some structures have been destroyed, others are threatened, and there are no firm details on the numbers yet from the area. As Nova Scotia deals with these fires, the western province of Alberta has been battling wildfire for weeks. We've talked a little bit about that. A Sunday release from Emergency Management said that 3,501 people remain evacuated and more than 2,700 personnel continue to fight the blaze. Fire danger in Alberta is very high or extreme in the northern regions of the province. Moderate to very high dangers in the central and southern regions, and moderate to very high from the central region to the northern slopes of the Rocky Mountains. This is a serious deal. This is a very serious fire. As fires go, this is probably one of the most destructive fires that Nova Scotia, in fact for all of Canada, has ever experienced. This is one of the biggest and one of the most dangerous fires. Okay? As much as we can, we're going to try to provide all of you information about what is going on in Nova Scotia and over in Alberta and over in British Columbia as they try to get these fires under control. I've been a volunteer firefighter a lot of years ago. I fought many wildland fires. One such fire backed up on us, and it caused one of our bulldozer drivers to flee his bulldozer because his bulldozer was surrounded by flames. Very high, 10-foot to 20-foot high flames. And he bailed out of there. He poured a couple of bottles of water over his head and bailed out of there and ran through the fire to safety. He had very minimal burns on his body, but he escaped alive. I know what it's like. I've been on the leading edge of many fires in my day. So guys, we send our prayers, we send our best thoughts to these firefighters and to these families that have been displaced by these fires. This is an extraordinary deal, and this is what's going to happen in the United States in the months to come. This is only the beginning of the summer in the world, in this part of the world anyway. And the fires are only beginning. So I hope and pray that Canada can be spared from any more destruction by fire. Something else that I want to talk about deals with earthquakes. Okay? We've talked a lot about earthquakes. Substantially about earthquakes. In fact, before I go to the Pacific Northwest and Southern California, let's take a quick look around the world. Okay? I typically want to do this to give everyone an idea about what's going on. One of the biggest earthquakes that we've had today is over in Peru. This earthquake happened earlier this morning. 12:51 a.m. this morning Eastern Time. This was a 5.5 magnitude earthquake. This is a very large earthquake over there in Peru. Now, I was not able to pull any information to see if anybody had been injured or the property damages yet. I hope to get that information very shortly, and I will pass that information on to you. Richard Smith says, and I know Richard Smith, he's over in Nova Scotia, he's in the Digby area, and he says it is safe where he is. And I'm grateful for that, Richard. God bless you. God bless you and your family and everyone who lives in that region. This is something that worries me in every way. Because again, I fought fires. I've been on fire lines after that when I was a police officer setting up emergency command posts at fires in Southern California. I know what they are. I've been on some really bad fires in the past. Anyway, here in Peru, big earthquake early this morning. Big earthquake. Let's go zoom in on this because I want to show you what happened here. Okay? This was just barely off the coast. Just barely off the coast. Where'd my Peru earthquake go? This is in Tirana, Chile, but there was an earthquake in Peru as well. This is a 5.5 this morning. What the heck? They took the Peru earthquake down. All right, anyway. Now they took that earthquake down. But a 5.5 just off the coast of northern Chile there. Another earthquake that hit was over near Hihi-Fotonga. This was a 4.8 moderate earthquake. 128 miles southeast of Hihi-Fotonga. This was a 6.2 mile deep quake. A very shallow quake. Now look over here in Papua New Guinea and Indonesia. No earthquakes seen at all. That's a fallacy. There's about 28 earthquakes in Indonesia and Papua New Guinea alone. Over here in the Philippines, southern Luzon, Philippines, a moderate 4.6 earthquake hit here on the southeast corner of Luzon, Philippines. This was also 6.2 miles deep. Not a big deal. 6.2 miles, 10 kilometers deep. Nobody probably even felt this, if anything, just light shaking, because it was just barely off the coast. South of there, this is 8 miles southeast of Abra de Hog, Philippines. This is also a 4.7 moderate quake. This was 53 kilometers deep. Okay, this hit land. See the craton here? That area of mountains here? That's where this hit. On the northern part of the island. This is a moderate quake. The worst happens, there may have been some cracked drywall or pictures knocked off of walls. Knickknacks or books knocked off shelves. Not a huge deal. It's only a moderate quake of 4.7. But there's a lot of other earthquakes here that they're not telling us about. Okay? I want to go over the volcano islands here. Okay? The volcano islands over here that are east and southeast of Japan. This is a 5.8 magnitude earthquake. Okay? Again, it's out in the open ocean. It's out here in the open ocean. Nobody felt this unless they were on one of these islands here. And they're mostly volcanic islands. I don't even think these islands are occupied. But this was a 5.8, very dangerous, very large earthquake over in the open ocean. The ocean waters absorbed the shock waves of that quake. A quake that just happened off the southeastern part of Honshu. This is a 4.4 moderate quake. This is also out in the ocean. I doubt anybody just felt this. This just happened. A moderate 4.4. A mid-range 4. Okay? Let's go over to the northwestern part of the island here. Okay? This is a 4.4, excuse me, it's not either. This is a 4.6 magnitude earthquake. Okay? It's over here. I'm going to enlarge this so you can see it. This is an area where we had a very large earthquake here just about a month ago. Okay? These people are still trying to recover from it. But this is a moderate earthquake. 4.6 earthquake. Knocks things off of shelves. Could knock pictures over. This is 7 miles deep. Okay? When we get shallow earthquakes, people tend to feel them more. But this is out in the open ocean. Just to the southwest here, they had, I think it was a 5.6 earthquake just a month ago. They got lucky. This is, I believe, is an aftershock from that quake. Okay? Then we go to the western side of Honshu here. This is a 4.3 near Nami, Japan. Nami, Japan. This, folks, is also 29 miles deep. Okay? It's in the ocean. Nobody felt this quake either. The ocean waters absorbed the shock waves of that quake. Okay? This one over in the Aleutian Islands sparked a lot of attention this morning. This is a 3.8 magnitude earthquake. It's 17 miles southeast of Adak, Alaska. Adak, Alaska, in the Aleutian Islands. Nobody felt it. The impact from that generated? Nothing. Ocean waters absorbed the shock waves from that quake as well. Up in Alaska, you can see most of the seismic energies here in the southern part of Alaska. Okay? There's nothing up north at all. Nothing over the Arctic Circle area. Over here in Denali National Park. Okay? I just want to show you this. This one I just highlighted. It's a 2.1 earthquake. And there, folks, it really gets me. This is on the northwestern part of Denali National Park. USGS has this. That's 42 miles east-southeast of Denali National Park. They cannot even get the directions right. It's in Denali, but it's not southeast of there at all. We go over here to the west. This is a 1.8. They say this is 27 miles south-southeast of Denali. No, it's not. It's over in the western part of the Denali National Park as well. This one here is a 2.1. They call this Central Alaska. south central Alaska in Denali National Park. Do you understand what I'm talking about here? It blows my mind. It blows my mind. Further south, and this is just east of Anchorage, Alaska. This is a 1.3 magnitude tremor here. There's not a lot going on here in Alaska. No real big deals as of yet. This one is in southern Alaska here. Yes, it is. It's a 2.6 earthquake. Minor earthquake over here in southern Alaska. This one is a 1.7 in southern Alaska, just south of there. There's not a lot going on here. There's not a lot going on here. Over here in the Gulf of Alaska, this is a 2.6 here. It's in the Gulf of Alaska. It wouldn't have done any harm anyway because it's a minor earthquake. Even on land, nobody probably would have felt that. Okay? Over here. Look at over here in the Pacific Northwest. Okay? Queen Charlotte Island. Over here in Vancouver Island, British Columbia, nothing. Nothing in Washington, nothing in Oregon. Isn't that just peachy keen? There's plenty of earthquakes here, but they don't want to tell us about it. Over here in Petrolia, California, this is a minor 2.1 earthquake. This is in the southern region of the Cascade subduction zone. Further offshore, this is 40 miles west of Petrolia, California. It's at the Triple Junction. The Gorda Escarpment, the Cascadia subduction zone, is that earthquake fault you see that's going straight north here, and the San Andreas Fault that leaves here and goes southeast out of here into California and all the way down into Mexico. Okay? This Triple Junction earthquake is a 3.1. A 3.1. It came out as a 3.2 and they immediately downgraded it. Okay? That's in the Pacific Northwest today. Now I'm going to bring you down into Southern California in just a short while. But I want to show you this. Okay? This, folks, is a 3.2 earthquake. This is off Port Hueneme, California. Port Hueneme, California. Now, this, folks, is on an undersea earthquake fault that connects with the Newport Inglewood Fault. This connects with the Newport Inglewood Fault. But this is a 3.2 earthquake just off the coast. Okay? Now we go north. I want to show you this too, just really quick. This is a 1.2 near Isla Vista, California. Isla Vista. Just north of that is another 1.4. Okay? Then we go back out into the ocean here. This is a 2.0 near San Miguel Island. Near San Miguel Island. Just southwest of San Miguel Island. Okay? There are earthquakes offshore here. There are plenty of earthquakes offshore here. And we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. As you can see, there are a lot of earthquakes down here. Okay? Really quickly, I want to show you this. Okay? This is a swarm of earthquakes. This is a good-sized swarm of earthquakes. This is just at the Salton Butte volcano. The Salton Butte volcano is underwater here on the southern end of the Salton Sea. We haven't had a swarm of earthquakes here in a while. This, folks, is a 2.2 ringleader. A 2.2 ringleader. This happened, guys, early this morning. A 2.2 earthquake, minor earthquake. The rest of these guys, this one's a 1.6. This one's a 1.6. This one's a 1.6. They're all tremors surrounding this 2.2. Okay? But this is activity at the Salton Butte volcano. This is magma underneath the Salton Butte volcano. Okay? I wanted to point that out because we're going to be talking about this in a few minutes, and I wanted you to see it. Notice, though, they hardly have any earthquakes noted here in the Imperial Valley. That's a lie as well. Over here in Brawley, we have a 1.4 tremor. 1.4 tremor in Brawley, California. Okay, further south. This is in Holtville, California. It's a 1.8. This is in Calexico. In Calexico, just on the northern border of Mexico and the United States. This is a 1.5. Now, I'm going to show you in a little bit a seismogram from the Salton Butte, the Salton Sea Desert Research Station here in Holtville. That's why I want to show you that. Okay? 1.8 in Holtville, 1.7 in Holtville. I think you're going to be surprised when I show you that seismogram from Holtville. Okay? And I've got all the seismograms from Imperial County here. I think you'll be really surprised by what we show you tonight. Over here in Westmoreland, I'm going to show you a seismogram from Westmoreland. It calls this a 1.4 tremor in Westmoreland. We will see what it says on the seismogram, won't we? So guys, that's what's happening. I wanted to make sure we show you that before we get started tonight, because we're going there. Now, I want to show you the seismograms now starting in the Pacific Northwest. Okay? I went up as far as Glacier Peak. Okay? Glacier Peak is about 40 miles north of Mount Rainier. I wanted to show you Mount Baker, but guess what? The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has shut off all of the seismographs around Mount Baker. They've all been shut down. There's not one single seismogram coming from Mount Baker today because they have shut them down. Not a one. They only have one seismograph over here at Glacier Peak. I want to show you this. There's not much to show really when it comes down to it. Okay? Let me enlarge this so you can kind of see what's going on here. Okay? You can see these minor tremors all over the seismogram here. Minor tremors everywhere. These are just tiny tremors. However, look what we have here. Okay? Look what we have here. Up at the top of this seismogram here, we notice that it started at 1700 hours yesterday. That's 5 p.m. yesterday. This red line here is 2200 hours on the left. That's 10 p.m. So now we have this activity here about 10:03 p.m. last night. What do we see? This is a steam signature, a very large steam signature. You see lines here. This is not an earthquake, this is steam. And sometimes we do see these steam signals, just like this. Now folks, it might have been that there may have been superheated magma inside the volcano, and it was trying to show up as a magma churn signal, but it's not. This is steam that came from Glacier Peak. Look at all that steam. Look at all that steam. And all that we're showing here are tremors. Not one single earthquake. These are just tremors. Okay? Now, I want to tell you something. I've had a good time today pulling up information about these tremors and earthquakes. It's actually been a lot of fun. So I want to show you some things today. Okay? I want to go over to Mount Rainier next. I'm going to show you Mount Rainier Camp Muir. This is on the northern rim of Mount Rainier. Look at this, guys. All kinds of fun at Mount Rainier today. There's a little bit of controversy in the chat. Jesus Loves Me says, Roxy, YouTube will find any reason to harass Ron. That's true. Plenty of other channels ask for only caps when asking questions. I don't want to do that, because YouTube has a habit of taking down that person. And I'm telling you, they eliminate those people who use caps. They have their own YouTube moderators that sometimes come in to this chat. They've done it before. And when they see something like that, they delete that person from subscribing to this channel. I've seen them do it. Or if they ask a question that they shouldn't be asking because YouTube feels like they should be asking, and they delete that person too, as well as their question. I've seen them do it. So-and-so deleted by YouTube moderator. They've done that. Folks, please don't use capitals at all. Occasionally one of our moderators will use a capital letter, but please refrain from doing it. I don't want to be taken down again. Now, we're looking at Mount Rainier now. Okay? Again, this is a big deal. Look at this energy at Mount Rainier. Okay? We're seeing 2.2 magnitude earthquakes, 2.0 earthquakes. We're seeing tons of tremors here. This is huge. Okay? This is some of the most, what shall I say, highly charged seismic events here at Mount Rainier. Okay, look at this. Over and over and over again. Look at these earthquakes and tremors. And yes, the vertical lines without any dots in them, if there's a vertical line with a dot, it's a tremor or an earthquake. Any vertical lines without a dot in it are steam signatures. This seismograph has been turned way down. The seismograph was turned down by the seismologist, and as a result, it's not adequately showing what happened here at Mount Rainier. This has probably been turned down to about 25% of real world. Okay? So when you see these earthquakes or tremors, think of them as at least twice as large as they are, because that is true. Okay? But you can see all this seismic energy hitting Mount Rainier. Folks, Mount Rainier is about ready to go boom. When we see all this kind of data here, Mount Rainier is ready to erupt. It's getting there. Now, having said that, let me show you something else to back that up. Okay? Okay, this is a spectrogram. This is showing heat at Mount Rainier volcano. At the bottom is where the hot magma is. Okay? Where what they call melt is. Okay? Look at the heat rising here. This is one of the best photographed spectrograms that I've seen. This is in fact one of the heavy duty spectrograms at Mount Rainier that I've ever seen. I've never seen heat as thick as this is. The heat is rising out of the magma and headed to the surface. You can see it here. The heat is rising to the surface. That means that melt is, one, very hot, and two, it's near the surface. Okay? I want to show you that. This is very significant because, folks, when it erupts, there's not going to be given any warning. No warnings at all. As you saw on the map that USGS put out today, they do not show anything going on at any of these volcanoes. Like I said, they turned off Mount Baker. I didn't even think of going over to Mount Constitution, but they turned off Mount Baker. Okay? That is Mount Rainier. Let me show you one more here at Mount Rainier. That was Camp Muir. Folks, this is Camp Sherman. This is Camp Sherman. Look at this. This is very busy. The top of this seismogram starts at 2100 hours, 9 p.m. last night. Now, we do have a magma churn signal here. Over in the right center, you see a magma churn signal. The magma churn signals are typically 23 to 24 lines high. This one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines high. 8 lines high. This is 33% of real world. This seismogram is showing us 1/3 of what it should be. 1/3 as much as it should be. So if we multiply what we see here, for example, let's go over here. See that light blue earthquake here? This earthquake hit at 1. No, it wasn't either. It was 6. This is about 6:50 a.m. this morning. 6:50 a.m. this morning. This looks to be a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Could have been a 3. If so, folks, if this is the case, multiplying this times 3, and all of a sudden we have a very significant 4.0 earthquake. A 4.0 earthquake. That's a moderate earthquake at Mount Rainier. Look at all these quakes and tremors here. You can see them. You also see a lot of vertical lines here. Mount Rainier is steaming. Don't even think that this isn't true. Mount Rainier is steaming all over the place. Another magma churn signal. It's the same size as the one earlier. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. This one's only 7 lines high, about 26%. Okay? And the lines over on the right side of that magma churn signal, those are steam lines. Steam signatures. But you can see all of the activity at Mount Rainier. They say nothing happened. There's no recorded earthquakes at Mount Rainier on the map. Not west of it, not east, not north, and not south. But you see them right here. The spectrograms don't lie. The seismograms don't lie. They can lie to us. They can pretend nothing happened. We know differently here. Let's drop down to Mount St. Helens. Oh joy, Mount St. Helens, one of my favorite volcanoes, together with Mount Rainier. Mount St. Helens, folks, is busy. Look at this. And by the way, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network doesn't show anything going on at Mount St. Helens, because except for one seismogram, they've turned all of the other seismographs off. All the rest of the seismographs have been turned off. They only have one. They only have one available today. I don't know why, but they only have one. I could not even pull the seismogram from September lobe VLF channel. The VLF channel would have shown us magma beneath Mount St. Helens. They've turned off the seismograph. They've turned them off. So there's nothing being shown at all. Okay? But we have the seismograph here showing the seismogram that USGS has. Now USGS will say, oh, we get the information from Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Oh, no you don't. Otherwise, this seismogram would not exist. Look at these earthquakes here. Look at the tremors too. Okay? You see lines running through some of these globs of magma. Those are earthquakes. Those are either earthquakes or tremors depending on the size of the event. How does that happen? Magma under pressure coming into the volcano fractures rock inside the volcano, causing earth to move. If it's light enough, it's a tremor. If it's heavier duty magma fracturing those rocks, causing a lot of earth movement, then there's an earthquake. And you can see the earthquakes here. You can see the earthquakes here. Now we have another magma churn signal here at Mount St. Helens, don't we? Okay, let's count the number of lines on this one. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Excuse me. 26% of real world. Okay, this seismogram is only showing us 26% of what it actually should. Interestingly enough, these earthquakes that hit here are larger than they're showing here. Those lines off to the right hand side of that magma churn signal, that is steam escaping from Mount St. Helens. Steam escaping from Mount St. Helens. If you see tiny vertical lines without any dot in the middle of them, those are steam signatures, because the seismograph has been turned down so far it's not going to show you any curlicue on those tiny steam signatures. But you see what we're talking about. Globs of magma coming into the magma chamber, and each individual line here represents 15 minutes of time during the 24-hour period. Each line shows thicker lines and thinner lines. That, folks, is magma pulse. Magma pulse. The thinner lines represent less magma coming through the volcanic chamber. The thicker lines are a lot more magma coming into the volcanic chamber of this volcano. Okay? So we have these steam signatures off to the right of the magma churn signal. And you can see these other earthquakes here and other tremors. Okay? So you know these two volcanoes here up in Washington are very, very active, right? Oh yeah, they sure are. They're very active. Let's go down to Mount Hood. Mount Hood. A year ago or so, it looked like Mount Hood was going to erupt. There was 129 earthquakes and tremors that hit Mount Hood in a 24-hour period. They issued an earthquake watch. They issued a volcano watch, a yellow alert, saying this volcano could possibly erupt. It settled down. It settled down and it did not erupt. I'm going to show you the seismogram coming from Palmer Lift at the top of Mount Hood. Okay? Let's bring this down so you can see the top of it. Okay? Again, the top of this seismogram was at 2100 hours, which is 9 p.m. yesterday evening. Look at all the magma here at the top of this seismogram. Completely obliterating the white paper underneath it. That's an awful lot of magma. And on the bottom of those magma lines here, they're seeing earthquakes and tremors. Earthquakes and tremors caused by all that magma coming into the magma chamber of the volcano, fracturing the rock. That's what causes those tremor and earthquake lines, fracturing rock inside the volcano. And you can see the larger blobs of magma here. You can see the vertical lines coming out of there. Again, fracturing rock of the volcano causing volcanic uplift. Uplift in the volcano. Look at all that energy here that was expelled from this volcano in the first few hours of this seismogram. From 9 p.m. till about 2:30 this morning, there was a lot of activity. Now, I'm going to move down here and show you what happened during the day today. Okay? From 2 a.m., literally from 2 a.m. to about 6 a.m., literally nothing happened. Tiny tremors. Tiny tremors. And may have been larger than that, because again, this seismograph, the seismograph is turned way down. This seismogram does not show real world. Okay? But we can see the magma lines. Each one of these lines again represents a 15-minute time period. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber. When the line gets thinner, it's less magma coming into the magma chamber, and vice versa. You can see that here. It's very, very plain. Now, I want to jump down here to just about 9:15 a.m. this morning. And actually it was before that. We just before, I'm going to say, 8:58 this morning, all of a sudden over here on the right hand side in the dark blue, you can see tremor activity building up. The magma line here gets thicker, doesn't it? It gets thicker. And you see some small tremors building up here. And then it gets really thick right here before 9 a.m. Just after 9 a.m. the tremors get really thick. The magma gets thick. Okay? You see these little tiny lines coming out of this magma. That's an awful lot of magma causing tremors, isn't it? Then we have an earthquake. Heavy duty magma under pressure coming into the magma chamber here on this mountain. Okay? This is Mount Hood. This is near the summit of Mount Hood, Palmer Lift. Look at these earthquakes. At least 2.0 earthquakes, if not larger here. Then about 2.5 minutes go by and there's another one. Okay? Look at the aftershocks of that quake. The secondary wave. The secondary wave lasts about another 2.5 minutes. This tells me that that earthquake was a lot larger than a 2.0. This was more like a 3.0, maybe even a 3.5 earthquake. Secondary wave lasting 2.5 minutes. That tells me a lot. Okay? Bridget Smith says steaming going on down the rail. Oh yeah, it absolutely is. Okay? Let's look at what else happens here. Oh, we have another earthquake. How about that? This is this afternoon, guys. Okay? Again, we know for a fact that these earthquakes are larger. Okay? This one this afternoon happened after 3:15. You see a lot of tremor buildup, don't you? About 3 minutes of tremor buildup before the earthquake hits. Then we see just over a minute of secondary wave of that quake. Probably a 3.0 earthquake here at Mount Hood. Okay? Then we see a body wave after that. Look at these other tremors. You also see down here after that the magma building up in the magma chamber. Okay? The magma pulse signals going from a thin line of magma to a thicker line of magma and back down to a thinner line. Oh yeah, big time, guys. This is Palmer Lift. Let me show you Timberline, which is basically near the base of Mount Hood. Wait till I show you Timberline. This is fun. This is really fun. Okay? Look at this. What's going on here? You see vertical lines here, don't you? Some of these vertical lines have a dot in them. That means that was a minor quake. Probably a minor earthquake or tremor. Any vertical lines that don't have dots in them, that is steam. That is a steam signal, meaning Mount Hood is steaming. We have pictures of Mount Hood steaming. We have thinner lines and we've got thicker lines. Thinner lines becoming thicker lines. Magma pulse signals. magma pulse signals, PULSC. Okay? Magma coming into the magma chamber, a lot of it getting thinner means less of it. And we can see that here. You see vertical lines coming out of the magma. These are tremors. Now look this afternoon. Look at all this magma this afternoon. This afternoon, Mount Hood achieved more magma coming into the magma chamber. You're seeing that here, the thicker lines. We also had a couple episodes where we had a great big huge clump of magma coming into the magma chamber. And if you see these thin lines going through that line there, those are tremors caused by the magma fracturing the rock inside the volcano. Okay? This is timberline. Timberline. I love Mount Hood. I just get a kick out of Mount Hood. Now I'm going to show you another place on Mount Hood. It's called Tom, Dick, and Harry. I love Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's funny. It's hilarious to me. Tom, Dick, and Harry is at the top of the ridge where Mount Hood is. Okay? Tom, Dick, and Harry. Look at the seismogram here. This was last night and this morning. A lot of magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Hood, right? Then it gets less and less and less. Then, this afternoon, what do we find here? I want to take a closer look. See these vertical lines here? They're after 12:30 and 1 p.m. today. Those are steam lines, steam signatures. Then you have a very small magma churn signal, don't we? Okay, that was after 2:30 this afternoon, nearly 2:31 this afternoon. Okay, that magma churn signal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines high. Again, this seismogram is only showing us 26% of real world. Off to the right again, this magma churn signal, we have vertical lines. Again, steam coming from Mount Hood. Steam coming from Mount Hood. This is an awful lot of activity for Mount Hood. And later after that, look at these other signatures here. More and more magma coming into the magma chamber. Okay? That's what happened today at Mount Hood. This is significant information. Because, again, on the map the USGS put out for us, shows nothing going on. Shows nothing going on. There has to be something going on. When we have these tremors, 1.5, 1.7, most of the time, if USGS has its head about itself, they will show us 1.2, 1.3, 1.5, 1.6 tremors. They've done it before, but they choose not to. They don't want anybody to know what is happening. They don't. The only reason they told us about Mount Hood before is because it was going to go. They thought it's going to go. 129 earthquakes happening within a 24-hour period. They thought it was going to go. There would be very little warning because they had not talked about it. They had not shown any activity prior to that. And folks, we are the ones that reported on it. USGS put out the yellow warning for possible eruption, but they didn't tell anybody about it. It was not in any newspapers. It was not in the news at all. Not on television, not on radio, nothing. We talked about it. We saw the information and we reported it. Okay? Now, let's go from there. What is south of Mount Hood? We've talked about this too. What do you think is south of Mount Hood? How about Newberry Volcano? I think Newberry Volcano should be talked about. Why? Folks, this is the cinder cone at Newberry Volcano. Look at the activity here. Okay? See this earthquake early this morning? Guess what? When did that earthquake hit over in Volcano Islands of Japan? This wavy line here, that is the Volcano Island quake in Japan. Okay? At the same time, the lines are thick here, showing a lot of magma coming into Newberry Volcano. And then it thins out, doesn't it? It thins out. Then we have another earthquake here. Let me show you this. Let me enlarge this for you. This happened just before 9 a.m. this morning. This is more like 8:57 a.m. this morning. This, folks, would be a 2.3, 2.4 earthquake. Okay? It was probably a 3.0, 3.5 earthquake, considering the seismograph has been turned way down. Look what happened this afternoon. Look at all this magma this afternoon, late this afternoon. And earthquakes as well. Not only was the line here full of magma, the line got thick, didn't it? But it caused some earthquakes too. Those thick vertical lines here are earthquakes caused by the magma coming in here to Newberry Volcano. We had at least 3 earthquakes today here at Newberry Volcano. But again, nothing showing on the USGS map. Nothing. Okay? Crazy as it may seem, when they say there's nothing, there's always something. They're hiding it again. Oh, we don't do that, Ron. We would never hide any information. Yeah, I've heard it all. I've heard it from USGS personnel. I've heard it from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network that sent me 2 or 3 emails in a row saying, oh, we don't hide earthquakes, we report everything. Really? Really? We have to go looking for it in the seismogram before you guys report it. Because you guys would never report it if we hadn't shown it to anybody. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyway, guys, Bachelor Volcano is south of Newberry. Nothing coming from Bachelor either. A seismograph full of vertical or horizontal lines. Full horizontal lines. Thin horizontal lines. That never happens at a volcano, especially now. Every one of these volcanoes would show activity of some kind. But over there at Bachelor, that's all they've shown for the past 2+ years. Nothing but horizontal lines. That's it. Thin horizontal lines. All right. Let's go from there over to Sisters Volcano. Sisters Volcano is another story. there's a lot going on at Sisters Volcano. Okay? Let's enlarge it for you to look at. Okay? Now, last night going into today, 2100, which is 9 p.m. last night. Very little activity, but it starts building up after 10 p.m. Tremors mostly. Blobs of magma causing tremors. Okay? Then it calms down. Substantially calms down for hours. Hours and hours and hours. Now, I need to tell you this, because the activity that you see here was the same kind of activity when they called for a possible eruption here at Sisters Volcanoes. It's also not just one volcano, it's 3. One seismograph covering all 3 volcanoes. This is still a lot of information here. You can see the magma coming into the volcano here. Again, these magma pulse signals. Incoming magma. You can see the blobs of magma here. The thicker lines of magma causing tremors here. You can see it. Then you can also see vacant areas here on the seismograph with no lines at all. They turn off the seismograph. Turn off the seismograph. Seismograph doesn't show anything. In this one case, this afternoon, they turned it off for about 6 minutes. Then they turn it off for about a half hour. Each line represents 15 minutes of time. They turn it off for about a half hour. And you can see the lines going down, meaning those lines going down represents a shutoff of activity on the seismograph. Yet this is the same time period where we have ongoing seismic activity caused by magma. So why do you think they'd shut it down? What are they trying to hide? Okay? What are they trying to hide? Inquiring minds want to know. That's Sisters Volcano, guys. Good old Sisters Volcano. It's active. These 3 volcanoes at the Sisters Complex are very active. And at one point in time, they're also going to erupt. Every one of the volcanoes that I'm showing you here in the Cascade mountain range are getting ready to erupt. No doubt in my mind they're getting ready to erupt. Okay? Now, let's go further south. I'm going to show you Crater Lake. This is another one of my favorite volcanoes. I've been to Crater Lake. The day I was there, it was sleeting, and I caught a couple fish. It was cold, miserable weather, and I caught a couple fish. It's a beautiful area, a real beautiful area. Now, this is Crater Lake, Cleetwood Cove. The seismograph for this volcano lies up on the northeast side of Crater Lake. Crater Lake Mountain, Crater Lake Volcano. Okay? You can see the thickening lines here, showing you increased seismic activity and more magma causing that activity. Okay? You can see the tremors building up here. Look here, we have these thicker lines. The thinner lines going into thicker lines. Magma pulse activity. or what they call pulse magma activity. Look at that. And then the lines get thinner again. And they pretty much stay thinner until this afternoon. Look at this. Right before I pulled this seismograph, all of a sudden magma starts pouring into this volcano. Tons of magma. Look at that. Almost obliterating the white of the seismograph. That's a lot of magma. And you do see some vertical lines coming through there. Okay? In this case, those would probably be minor earthquakes. Minor earthquakes caused by that rush of magma. And there's at least 2 hours worth of magma there. Okay? Crater Lake was going, wasn't it? Oh yeah. Now there's 4 seismographs located at Crater Lake. The other 3, actually 2 of them, have been turned off. One other one on Wizard Island is on, but the seismograph is out in the open. It's not protected at all from the weather. So we cannot completely rely on the accuracy of the seismograph at Wizard Peak, which is also the cone of the volcano, the summit of Crater Lake. Okay? It's not really an island. It's a summit of the volcano. Okay? Now, let's drop into Northern California. I just love Northern California. I've hiked up here. I've hiked from the Mexican border in San Diego all the way up to Oregon with my Boy Scout troop. Yes, I was a scoutmaster. And my troop, we went to camporees every once in a while. But my troop didn't like to sit on their butts at a camporee for 2 or 3 days. My scout troop loved to hike and loved to camp. And that's what we did. We were a mountaineering scout troop. We didn't like to just sit around. Yes, at camporees, you make things, you compete in tournaments and win awards and such. You just don't sit there. But my troop felt it wasn't necessary to show up at those camporees very often. My troops hiked. Every one of those kids hiked. At one point in time, we had 21 members of my troop. We hiked the Pacific Crest Trail from the Mexican border all the way to the border of Oregon. And we got the Pacific Crest Trail patch. What a wonderful thing. Anyway, guys, let's go down and take a look at Mount Shasta. Let's see here. Where did my Shasta go? Where did my Shasta go? Right here. This is Mount Shasta, guys. This seismograph that recorded was seismograph LBF. Look what we show here. Yes, each line still represents 15 minutes of time here. Okay? You see thinner lines growing into thicker lines, growing into thinner lines. Magma pulse signals. You also see a lot of vertical lines here on some of these lines. On some of the horizontal lines, you see a lot of vertical, tiny lines. Tremors caused by magma. The larger vertical lines are earthquakes caused by the magma going into this magma chamber here at this volcano. Mount Shasta is very active. A lot of the activity that you're seeing here is from the magma coming into the magma chamber, causing these earthquakes. The red marks on this seismogram are the computer telling the seismograph, telling the seismologist, hey, look at this. It's important. Okay? That's what these vertical lines do. They try to get hold of the try to get the attention of the seismologist. But you see some larger earthquakes here, don't you? You see large earthquakes. You also see some vertical lines, steam lines, steam signatures. But these are real earthquakes. 3.0 to 4.0 earthquakes, and USGS shows no earthquakes at all at Mount Shasta on the map. None. This is confirming there are earthquakes, decent-sized earthquakes here at Mount Shasta. And those of you that live near Mount Shasta, you felt some of this seismic energy. I've got notes from you guys in terms of messages, and I think I got 2 emails today saying, hey Ron, what's going on? This is what's going on. Now look here. This signature down here on this seismogram, folks, this is a steam signature. Yes, there is a red line telling the seismologist, look at this. But you see these vertical lines here. You see the curlicue on this seismogram. That is a real steam signature. Because they turn down some of these seismographs so far down, all it turns up is maybe 1/8 of an inch vertical line. Still a steam signature, but there's no curlicue on it because it's so small. Here you can see it. Okay? Mount Shasta is moving. Don't let them say that it's not, because they're not showing anything. They just don't want to have anybody find out what's actually happened there. And in past weeks and months, we've seen heat signatures here at Mount Shasta. Okay? I'm just saying. We've had and seen steam signatures here at Mount Shasta. Let me show you a seismogram from Mount Lassen. Okay? Good old Mount Lassen. Look at this. The horizontal lines here are magma coming into the volcano. Look at that. Thicker lines, a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. And then they get less and less. But you're still seeing earthquakes here, right? You still have steam signatures here, right? We're looking at least one there. And these earthquakes are at least 3.0 earthquakes. Down here, there's a lot less than that. Probably 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes. And smaller tremors here. Mount Lassen has also got a lot of magma going on. Mount Lassen, just like the other volcanoes here in the Cascade Mountain Range, is getting ready to erupt. Mount Lassen has not erupted in a lot of years. I think it's 200 or 300 years it has not erupted. It's getting ready now. You can see it. Does anybody have any questions about the Pacific Northwest? I've shown you most of the volcanoes in the Cascade Mountain Range. The Cascade Mountain Range goes from southwestern British Columbia all the way down to northern California here at Mount Lassen and Mount Shasta. Those are Cascade Mountain volcanoes. The others here in California are completely different. Every one of the volcanoes here in California are different from these Cascade Mountain volcanoes. They're very different. They have their own unique aspects to those volcanoes. They actually, most of the time, also they act differently than the Cascade Mountain volcanoes. Anybody have any questions? Don Patoka says, do they call that red line? That is a red line caused by the computer telling the seismologist, hey, look at this. That's why the computer sets it up that way, to let the seismologist say, hey, look at this. Sage Pup says, I was a good Cub Scout until I got kicked out for beating up a bully. Oh yeah, I've had those episodes myself. Wild Horses says, I want to leave, I'm in Redmond. I don't think you'd want to leave right now yet. I don't think Mount Lassen or Mount Shasta are going to erupt anytime soon. They might really surprise me, but I don't even want to think about them erupting right now. I just don't see it. Mount Shasta is more so than Mount Lassen, okay? But you can still see on this seismogram evidence of what's going on. Sage Pup says, can a volcano in the Pacific Northwest trigger the faults around the area and down the coast? It could. It could. What we are looking for, in case you may have forgotten, guys, and I'm not just talking to Sage Pup at all too, I'm talking to everybody. What we're looking for prior to a Cascadia megathrust earthquake happening, we're looking for at least 4.5 earthquakes or greater in the Cascade Mountain range. 4.5 earthquakes or larger in the Cascade Mountain range, not offshore, in the mountains. It could be 2 5.0s. It could be 2 4.5s or 4.8s. But we need at least 2 4.5 to 5.0, 5.5 earthquakes to happen before we see anything else. Or, I'm going to say or, if we have a volcano eruption. If we have a volcano eruption in the Cascade Mountain range, that would also signal us to be wary for a possible Cascadia megathrust earthquake to happen within a week or two after that. Okay, that could happen. Now, to completely answer Sage Pup's question, a 5.0 earthquake is reminiscent of a volcanic eruption. When a volcano blows, it will cause the ground to tremble. It will cause the ground to shake really bad. That would be the equivalent, the eruption would be equivalent to a 5.0 earthquake. Okay? So we're looking for either 2 4.5s or larger earthquakes or a volcanic eruption. And it's probably going to come from Mount St. Helens or Mount Rainier or Glacier Peak. One of those three volcanoes. Why am I including Glacier Peak? Because, folks, we have records from the last time we had a Cascadia megathrust earthquake. There was a mariner off the coast of Seattle, and he said he saw either Mount Rainier or Glacier Peak erupted. I think it was either after or before the Cascadia earthquake hit. Okay? So that's why we're looking for earthquakes or a volcanic eruption. If that happens, you guys need to make sure you have plans. To make sure you have an earthquake plan, a volcanic eruption plan, a flood plan, because there's going to be flooding. There's going to be a tsunami. You need to have a tsunami flood plan. What you're going to do, how you're going to handle it. How are you going to handle earthquakes? You better have an emergency plan for earthquakes as well. It's coming. Just like we told you, you need to have not just a plan, but you need to have an emergency preparedness kit. an emergency preparedness kit. You need to have food storage. You need to have some kind of survival food. That all you have to do is add water to it to have a meal. A good meal. A meal that you'll be able to take and it'll fill you up and give you energy to do whatever you have to do. Because without that energy, you're a goner. Your wheels are going to spin, you're not going to get anything accomplished, and you may get hurt in the process. That's the last thing that we want to have happen. Well, the horse says, I'm learning how to surf, Ron. I learned a long time ago, back in the 70s. 72, we arrived in San Diego, and one of the first things one of my friends did was to take us surfing. To take us surfing in San Diego was a blast. It was a blast. Don Patoka says, question, if they turn off the seismos, will it stop the event from occurring? No. They can turn off the seismos. That's not going to stop the event from occurring. They just won't have record of it. Because the idiots that are doing that are actually preparing themselves for a big letdown. Because when there's no record of it happening, everybody's going to say, why did it happen? Why didn't you tell us? Why is there no record of it? Because I'm too stupid because my boss told me to turn the machine off. My boss told me to turn the machine off. Now, folks, let's think about this. Say this happened, and Congress wants to know why. So Congress calls you as a seismologist in before Congress to testify. And they ask you why you turned the seismograph off. Why is there no record of this earthquake? Why is there no record of this volcano erupting? Because I was told to turn off. Who told you to turn off? My boss. My boss told me to turn it off. I can just see one of the senators or congressmen asking you a very good question. Do you always do everything your boss tells you to do? I would love to hear a congressman or senator ask that question. Do you always do everything your boss tells you to do? And then bringing the boss in to the hot seat. Why did you tell so-and-so to turn off the seismograph and let him deny it? His butt would fry. But guess what? I don't think he would stop right there. Who told you to tell the seismologist to turn off the seismograph? Who told you to tell him? Senator so-and-so. Bingo, bango, boingo. We get to the bottom line. We get to the bottom line why we're not seeing more evidence of earthquakes. Why we're not seeing more evidence of these volcanoes in action. You didn't see any earthquakes or tremors listed at Glacier Peak. You didn't see any at Mount Rainier. You didn't see any at Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Sisters Volcano. Of course, you didn't see anything at Bachelor because that thing's been turned down for a year and a half. It's not recording squat. We're just seeing a little bit of information coming out of Mount Hood, at Sisters Volcano, and Crater Lake. Now, why do they have two of the seismographs at Crater Lake turned off? Mount Scott at Crater Lake is turned off. Crater Lake Bunkhouse is turned off. Why? Inquiring minds want to know. Yes, it's the politicians telling them to do that. It's money. It's money. The politicians want to remain in office. If everybody left those jurisdictions where the politicians are, then they wouldn't be able to govern anybody, right? If there was no taxes being paid by these people, there would be no money to do anything with. If there's no people living in these danger areas, the businesses would flee as well. The businesses would shut their doors, bar their windows, and walk away. There'd be no tax money coming in to pave the roads or keep the lights on. The place would go vacant, and the politician would be out of work. That's what they're doing here. That's what they're doing. Christian Cashel is saying here in the chat, almost tourist season here on the Oregon coast. Wow. Yes, I know. It is tourist season. From Memorial Day to the workers' holiday in September, the 1st of September, Labor Day. It's crazy, guys. And anything could happen between now and then. It usually does. It usually does. But it's going to happen. All this stuff is going to happen, guys. I can promise you that. And there's more. There's more. Does anybody want to look at Southern California now? Yeah, Aubrey says, I was just following orders. Yeah, exactly right. I can hear him saying that too. It's just like these FBI agents that came forward to Congress. Oh, I was told to do this by, what's his name? The big liar during the beginning of Mr. T's administration. That FBI agent that was having an affair with another agent. Oh yeah. And then the boss. The big boss man has been told by Congress to leave, to resign. Do you think he'll do it? Oh no. Oh no. He's going to stay as long as the demos are in power. Yeah. Kristen says, aren't they all liars? Yeah, they are. Every frickin' last one of them. But that's what's happening. Guys, I'm going to quickly, it's almost 9 o'clock here. I'm going to quickly go into Southern California now. I want to show you some things going on there. Remember that earthquake we showed you off of Port Wainebe, California? Look here in the Channel Islands. This is the Channel Islands, guys. Look at this. Look at these tremors here. There's a lot of seismic activity there. Okay? There's a lot of seismic activity there. And it's not stopping. Okay? Let me pick out another one here that you ought to see here. Okay? Let's go over to Moore Park, just north of Los Angeles. Look at this. This is Moore Park, California. Look at all the tremors here. And yes, folks, there's several 2.0 earthquakes here as well. Minor earthquakes, but earthquakes nonetheless. Yes, you see a lot of tremors here. Almost complete tremors. There's only a couple minutes here and there where there's not a tremor going. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Los Angeles, guys, is getting ready to go. Make no mistake about it. I've got proof of what's happening in Los Angeles. That's Moore Park. How about over in Fontana, California? on the east side of Los Angeles over there. This is Orange County. This is Fontana, California. Look at all the tremors here. And yes, folks, there's some earthquakes here as well. There's some 2.0, 2.3 magnitude earthquakes here in Fontana. Okay? Look at all this activity here. It's over in Orange County, guys. I checked Riverside, and nothing much is happening yet, but it's going to. Riverside is next. Riverside was bustling with tremors just a few weeks ago. Then it calmed down. This is Fontana today. Let's go over to Long Beach. Can you say Long Beach? Let's see what's happening in Long Beach. This is Light Hype. Light Hype has calmed down. This is extreme turn down at Long Beach. Okay? It's been very busy in the Long Beach area. It's been very busy. Now it's calmed down. Okay? Down at the bottom of this in the green, we still have a lot of tremors going on. There's still a lot of tremors. It's going. It's definitely going. It's not stopping. It's literally not stopping. It's a matter of time. It's really a matter of time. Folks, it's busy. It's very busy. Okay? Let me show you State Street. State Street is just east and south of Light Hype. East and south of Light Hype. Let's show you State Street. Come on. This is State Street, guys. Look at this. You actually see some earthquakes. Minor earthquakes here, guys. Look at that. And tremors. State Street has also calmed down somewhat. And the kicker on this here is somewhat. Okay? Last week we showed you State Street, and it was top to bottom, side to side with seismic activity. You could not see any white paper underneath the activity. Well, guess what? This afternoon you started seeing that. You started seeing it. But down here at the bottom you're still seeing these tremors. And there's a couple 2.0 earthquakes here as well. There's a couple 2.0, maybe 2.5 magnitude earthquakes here at State Street. For anybody to say nothing's going on in Los Angeles is a lie. I just showed you Moore Park. I showed you Light Hype. I showed you State Street. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. I showed you Cal Electric out in Fontana, in Orange County. There's a lot going on there. Folks, I'm now going to take you down into that area of California called Imperial County. I'm going to show you Imperial County now. I've shown you a little bit of what's going on in LA. Let's go over to Holtville. At the beginning of this broadcast, I showed you seismic activity in Holtville. This is the Salton Sea Desert Research Station that's located in Holtville. Folks, they showed us a 1.7 tremor in Holtville. Let's go up to the top of this seismogram here on the black line. Okay? Yes, this was last night. The top of this seismogram is last night, going into today. Folks, last night, this is 5 p.m. on the left-hand side. So over here on the far right of it, this is 5:12 last night. This is a 2.3 earthquake last night. You see bunches of tremors here, don't you? A bunch of tremors here, all over the place. On this blue line here, just after midnight. Over on the left-hand side on the blue line, it was 12:30 in the morning. Over here, just 4 minutes from the turnover to 12:45, on this blue line here, we see at least a 2.2 magnitude earthquake this morning. Now, why are they not showing us this whole seismogram during the day? I don't know. But this one they're showing us last night into this morning. But you still see a lot of activity. You're still seeing a lot of activity down here in Holtville, where they said there was just one 1.7 tremor. And as you can see, there were quite a few tremors, not just a 1.7. Okay? Let me show you some more. You're going to get blown away here. Okay? Let's take you over to the town of Imperial. The town of Imperial is just east of El Centro. Look at this, guys. Look at this. They didn't show any earthquakes at all, any tremors at all in Imperial town, or the town of Imperial. Okay, look at this. There were a bunch of tremors. Just after 8 p.m. last night. Just after 8 p.m. This is about 8, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just after 8:07 last night. There was tremors building in. The tremors turned to a 1.7 tremor, and then into a 2.0 earthquake, and then into a 2.5 earthquake. And that's the biggest it shows. This earthquake sequence here lasted 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. There's no way in heck that this was a 2.5 earthquake. Probably a 3.0 or larger earthquake that lasted 2.5 minutes. The seismograph was turned down. 2.5 earthquakes don't last 2.5 minutes. And then the body wave goes for another minute and a half. I shouldn't say the body wave, the secondary wave goes for another minute and a half. Then the body wave stretches out for another 5 or 6 minutes. But you're seeing plenty of tremors here as well. Yes, we're showing you an earthquake, but you're seeing plenty of tremors. That's Imperial. Would you like to see El Centro? Let me show you El Centro, guys. Let me look here. Folks, this is El Centro. Look at this. This is at Naval Air Station El Centro, and this is west, on the west side of the Imperial County area. Look at this. Earthquake after earthquake. Tremor after tremor. You can see the earthquakes here. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 earthquakes, and a bunch of tremors. These earthquakes are at least 2.5 to 3.0 earthquakes. Over on the right hand side in the red, 3.0 earthquake. Okay? Yes, that was early this morning. Just before 12:30 this morning. They got shaken. They got shaken. Let's take a look at some more here. I'm not done. I'm not done. Let's take a look at Westmoreland. Westmoreland is north of Imperial, and it's east of El Centro. Look at this. Nothing but tremors at Westmoreland, the town of Westmoreland. Isn't that interesting? Nothing but tremors. I wonder why. I wonder why. What happened there? Let's go over to Calipatria. Okay? Remember me showing you on the earthquake map the USGS showed a small swarm of tremors there? A 2.2 earthquake and a small swarm of tremors over right on top of the Salt Butte volcano there. About 8 tremors and one 2.2 earthquake. Look at this one. This seismogram is Calipatria, showing all of that and more. Showing all this and more. There's a lot to see here. Let me enlarge this so you can all enjoy this. Okay? Look at all these tremors here. Those tremors at the top are last night. Over on the left hand side you can see where the day changed into the 30th, which is today. Let's go down here after midnight. Look at the earthquakes here. Okay? At about 12, I want to say 12:40 a.m. this morning, you can see a red line there. It's about 1 inch long. That's a 2.0, 2.2 earthquake. You see several 2.0 earthquakes. Okay? Look at all these earthquakes and tremors here. All these were this morning and this afternoon. Every one of them. Every one of them. Folks, this morning, just after 9:48 a.m. this morning, there was nearly a 3.0 earthquake. Okay? It's showing here, but they're not reporting a 3.0 earthquake. They're not reporting anything but a 2.0. But there's lots of 2.0s. There are a lot of tremors here as well. There's over 200 earthquakes on this seismogram. Over 200 earthquakes on this seismogram. But they're showing a small swarm of tremors as a result of the Salton Butte volcano. Yes, the Salton Butte volcano is active. It's considered a very deadly volcano here in Southern California, in the Imperial Valley. One more seismogram for you and then we'll stop here. Okay, I want to show you over on the east side of the Salton Sea. This is Bombay Beach. Good old Bombay Beach. Look at this, guys. Look at all these earthquakes. There may be only 1 or 2 tremors here. The rest of these are all full-blown earthquakes. 2.8 to 3.5, 4.0 earthquakes. So as you can see here, several of these earthquakes have been topped off and bottomed off, meaning the top of the signal and the bottom of the seismic signal has been cut off, meaning the seismologists do not want us to see the strength of these quakes. This is big time. You saw all these earthquakes over in Calipatria. Now you're seeing these bigger earthquakes dropped by the San Andreas Fault here at Bombay Beach. That's some serious earthquakes, guys. Those are serious earthquakes, and they're lasting a period of time. Some lasted 2.5 minutes. 3.0s, 4.0 earthquakes. Okay? And I forgot there's one other I wanted to show you up in LA. This was Walnut La Puente in Los Angeles. Same kind of thing we see at Bombay Beach, but this time it's in LA. Walnut La Puente. Okay? Do you think it's concerning? Oh, very. Very much concerning. Most of these earthquakes have been topped off and bottomed off. They don't want us to see the actual size of these quakes. We see the size of the quakes by the length of the seismic signals and the time period that the earthquake lasted. Okay? These earthquakes, some of them last 4 and 5 minutes. I'm talking about one last night after 7:45 on the green line there, near the top. That earthquake lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. 6 minutes. And some of that was tremors. But the top and the bottom of it at the beginning were cut off. That was at least a 3.0 earthquake. I think it was more like 4.0. Again, they don't want to show it to us. And several others of these earthquakes are even larger than that. But they don't want us to know. You guys in Los Angeles, you guys are seeing this. They're hiding information. They don't want you to see what's going on. They're not reporting any of this on the map. None of it. They don't want you to know about it. There's people that are feeling stuff. They're feeling the earthquakes, and nobody's talking about it. The only people talking about it are the people living in their homes when their homes shake. The floors shake, their walls shake, the doors shake, the cupboards shake. Heaven forbid somebody gets hurt as a result of this. And USGS sits on its hands. Oh, we didn't know about it. We did not know about it. That's what gripes me, guys. Somebody is going to get hit, and they're going to get hurt. They're going to get hurt. This is a picture, a screenshot from one of the USGS maps. one of the reporting sites at USGS showing that swarm of earthquakes and tremors over there in the Salton Sea over the top of the Salton Butte volcano. You see it. You see it. One other earthquake I want to tell you about, and I hope that they have not taken it down, because it's important as well. Okay? They also didn't show this on the map here. They showed this earthquake down at Calexico on the U.S. side of the U.S.-Mexico border. They showed us this earthquake here. Okay? Then they showed another earthquake south of the Cerro Prieto volcano. Woohoo! Woohoo! USGS showing us an earthquake in Mexico? Wow, that's really something. That's really something. One other earthquake, or a couple other earthquakes I want to show you here. We're going to be talking about this tomorrow night. This is a 2.5 earthquake. This is in Calhoun, Kentucky. A 2.5 earthquake in Calhoun, Kentucky today. Actually, I'm sorry, it was last night. This was last night at 22:49 p.m. last night Eastern Time. This other earthquake in the center of the New Madrid Fault, this is Ridgely, Tennessee, with a 2.6 earthquake. A 2.6. And this one further west, over here, west of Ridgely, this is Holbert, Oklahoma. They say this is a quarry blast. Let's take a quick look at this. They say this is a quarry blast. I doubt it. Anytime USGS says something's a quarry blast, I have to take a look at it. Okay? And I might as well show this to you guys, because you guys want to know, right? Oh yeah. You want to know whether they're showing a quarry blast or an earthquake. Well, guess what? There's no stinking quarry out here. This is 1 mile southwest of Holbert, Oklahoma. And I think they've got those records off. This is southeast. I think Holbert is right here. The town of Holbert's over here. This earthquake is in a field, a forested area. A 1.5 tremor here, not a quarry blast. USGS, bite my butt. You know, when they lie about this, they stick some marker on it just to say something happened. Or maybe they don't say anything. It gripes me to no end when they lie and lie and lie. Right before we went on the air, just about 6 p.m., over here in Puerto Rico, we had an earthquake here. This is a 2.5 earthquake, right before we went on the air. 2.5 here near Guanica, Puerto Rico. This one here is a 2.5 here near Palomas, Puerto Rico. Guanica is where my dear friend lives, who is a captain of the Puerto Rican police force, Dominic. I'm going to call him in the morning and see what he says. That's a 2.5, and this earthquake just north of it is a 1.8 tremor. Okay? Then we have an earthquake right off the Cayman Ridge here, north of Puerto Rico. This is a 3.7 earthquake. The Cayman Ridge is an earthquake superhighway, bringing earthquakes from Guatemala all the way out here. Okay? The Cayman Ridge stretches over here from Guatemala and all the way out, all the way around the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Leeward Islands, and then it goes south down the Atlantic all the way over to Venezuela. Then it makes a turn west into northern Venezuela. The Cayman Ridge, folks. And look here. USGS again denying any earthquakes here in Central America. What kind of freaks are they to think that nothing happens here? What kind of freaks are they? Unreal, guys. Unreal. Michael McKinney's in the chat saying, I remember just before Northridge, there were lots of small quakes like this. That's exactly what I'm worried about. That is exactly what I'm worried about. Right before Northridge, all these earthquakes all over. Well, folks, I just got through showing you some of the earthquakes in Los Angeles area, all around the valley. Should you be worried? Yes. Yes, you should. Should you be asking questions? Absolutely. You have the right to ask any kind of questions. Demon Catman, I showed you that earthquake over in Oklahoma. Demon Catman says, combustus carnivorous. Spontaneous combustus carnivorous. Spontaneous fire on a tree or in a tree. Yeah, that's it. Guys, we talked about a lot of things. We talked about that huge fire near Halifax, Nova Scotia. We talked about earthquakes. We talked about a lot of things here. Please, folks, investigate it further if you will. I am free to answer any questions whenever you call or whenever you start sending me messages. Not a problem. I will get back with you one way or the other. Michael McKinney says, is King Beach especially active? I believe so, yeah. I've seen enough tremors over there. Yeah, Kings Beach is active. And Al says, super freaks. Yeah, that's exactly what USGS is, super freaks. It's unreal. They do not even report earthquakes around the world like they should. Tonight, just for kicks and giggles, just a second. I'm gonna look this up because I want to. Only because I can and I want to. Okay? On this earthquake map, all over the world, they say we've had 212 earthquakes worldwide. 200 earthquakes worldwide. I showed you 200 earthquakes in the Imperial Valley. I showed you 200 earthquakes in the Imperial Valley alone. And they didn't even show that many. There's over 50 earthquakes in California. And that's north of San Diego that they're showing. And I will bet you if I pulled up more information around Mammoth Mountain and Long Valley, I probably would find another 60 or 80 earthquakes there. Yeah, folks, they don't tell the truth. I showed you earthquakes and tremors in the Pacific Northwest. Probably another 100 earthquakes and tremors. Significant earthquakes and tremors. Again, they don't give a flying rat's frosty keister. They don't. They don't care who gets hurt or who gets killed. One day they're going to have to pay the price. One day they will have to pay the price. Now, folks, I want to read you a scripture. It comes from the 17th chapter of Luke. Okay? The 17th chapter of Luke. Rob Vogel sent me this earlier today. There's a video on it that he sent me, and I appreciate it. The 17th chapter of Luke. I want to go over to verses right now I just want to talk about verses 28, 29, and verse 30 of Luke chapter 27. Likewise also as it was in the days of Lot. They did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, and they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven, and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man cometh. Or the Son of Man, it says, revealeth. Even in the day. And continue in verse 31. In that day he shall be upon the housetop, and his stuff in the house. Let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Okay? Remember Lot's wife? Whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. I tell you, in that night there shall be 2 men in one bed. The one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. 2 women shall be grinding together, the one shall be taken, and the other left. 2 men shall be in the field, one shall be taken, and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, Where, Lord? And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, thither will go the angels be gathered together. That is an important scripture. I keep telling everyone that I talk to, the scriptures tell us of our day. The ancient prophets and apostles spoke of our day, just as Isaiah did. Brothers and sisters, the Lord is talking about our day. We've talked about several companies and the inane stuff that these companies have done, trying to influence our children and other people, leading them astray, and they don't much care. One such was Target. Target donated over $2.1 million to LGBTQ people, to the movement. We talked about this. Now, folks, I used to turn the other cheek. I have always said, if someone doesn't bother me, let them go their way. But now they are expanding their foothold. They're going after our children. They're going after our young adults to try to influence them. Our schools, the same way. School districts have accepted millions of dollars from the federal government to put out programs to influence our children. It's time for each one of us to stand up. Rob sent me that scripture with a video about it in an email this morning. The email asked what should we do? What do you think I wrote back to him? What should we do? I come up with several things that I think that we should do. And I stand by those things. Just a second, I'm trying to pull up this memo that I wrote him. I mentioned several things that we can do to save ourselves and save our families. I think this is very important on what we should do to save ourselves. The Lord has told us that faith without works is dead. If we're not willing to stand up for ourselves, then how do you think the Lord is going to take if we don't do anything to save ourselves? Rob asked what should be our response. I'm going to give you, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things that we should do. What should be our response? 1, reading our scriptures. 2, we should be teaching our family the Word of God. 3, we should be standing up against these satanic influences. 4, we should be standing up and helping those that are close to us. Stand up with us. We need to stay close to our family, making sure they are also in the same mindset. We should be leading our family members. We should continue in prayer and righteousness. We should continue showing love and concern, not allowing these influences to take over our families or our society. And this means in our homes as well. We cannot let this satanic influence come into our homes. And if it does, it needs to leave. And it needs to leave right then. Okay? That scripture, Luke 17:28, not just through 30, but through the end of the chapter. It's very important. My last thought is to stand ye in holy places. Stand ye in holy places. Brothers and sisters, the Lord wants us to do good. The Lord wants us to save our families. And that is of utmost importance right now, to save our families. May God bless you, brothers and sisters. I love you. I would not be talking about this if I didn't care. I truly do. May you be blessed. May you have the desires of your hearts. May you be lifted up and feel the Spirit guiding you. God bless you. If anything else happens, folks, tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. As one of my acquaintances, Walter Cronkite, once said, and that's the way it is, Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. For Emergency Management Associates, my name is Ron Tyler. I hope you have a good night. God be with you until we meet again. That is my thought for you. God be with you till we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. I love you.
Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
Folks, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Barely clear on the backside of the sun, and the earth is located in the sun hitting the earth is located around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth now. The solar wind is also